6-6 builds on NBA 2K26. Let's get into it. I got 3 different versions: a minimum wingspan, a medium wingspan, and a max wingspan. It just depends how long you like it. All 3 are viable, all 3 are unique, and we're gonna break all 3 of them down. You see how 6-6s are moving this year, right? They can burst, they can speed boost, they can combo. And the craziest thing about all of it is look at some of these floaters. Burst out of the behind the back, instantly stop, floater off the moon. Y'all see the vision. Let's get into the builds. What if I told you you could be using your sports knowledge to win money? Well, you're gonna wanna check out the sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is simple. First you select your sport, then you select the category within that sport, then you select your players and decide if they're gonna go more or less than the predictions in those categories. The more picks you get right, the more money you make. Prize Picks is available in over 40 states, and if you use my code to sign up for Prize Picks today, they will give you $50 in free play when you place your first $5 lineup. Age restrictions apply. Please play responsibly. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Hey, shout out to Young Dirk for some of the dribble clips in the intro. He's a really good player and makes really good content. I'll leave the link down to his channel in the description. Definitely go check him out. But let's get into it. 6'6", minimum wingspan, 195 pounds. And as I told you, I wanted to be a little unique. I didn't want to just make a dunking 6'6" like everybody else, but we do have some dunking versions in this video. But this first one is 6'6", minimum wingspan, 93 3-pointer. That's going to be a bunch of gold shooting badges. And of course, we're going to break down the Badge Max +1, Badge Max +2s, and build specialization for this build, and it gets crazy, all right? Now, we went 90 on the ball handle to get gold handles for days, and 86 on the speed with ball to get gold lightning launch. Now, if you did want to build specialize your playmaking, theoretically, you could use that +2 to get legend lightning launch and use your +1 Badge Max on the off handles for days. That would be pretty elite, and then you would still have all your other Badge Max +1s and 2s that you could apply to your shooting badges. Or if you wanted to, you could do your shooting and then use the extra additional Badge Max badges on your shooting badges. It really is preference, and I feel like you can't go wrong either way. The reason I did it like this is because I feel like this build with no cap breakers, no build specialization is a bit more viable for day 1 of the game. If you wanted to prepare for future cap breakers and the build specialization cap breakers, you'd probably want to take down your mid-range and your 3-pointer by 2. And then when you get your build specialization cap breakers, add +2 to your 3-pointer, and then you would have those extra Badge Max +1 and 2s from the build specialization to put on shooting badges. And then if you still wanted to boost up your playmaking badges, you could do that with your regular Badge Max +1s and 2s. I know that was probably a lot to follow, and I'm sorry, I know I'm probably talking way too fast. But if you've been paying attention to 2K26, all of what I just said makes a lot of sense. We will break it down more specifically as we get to the end, and it'll be a lot more easy to follow. But let's keep going with this build. I wanted to make all these builds really well rounded, so we're going 85 perimeter with 80 agility. That's going to be silver on ball menace, silver challenger, silver pick dodger, and the 80 agility to be able to slide our feet, quickly cut people off, get those good bump animations. That's going to make this build a viable 2-way player and not be a liability on the defensive end. We're also going to increase our steal attribute up to an 85. That's going to give us a nice solid steal rating, and then we're also going to put up our block to 68 to unlock bronze high flying denier. Now, to get bronze high flying denier, you do need 60 vertical. So we're going to slide over to the vertical here and give it a little +4 to unlock that bronze badge. Now, sliding over to the finishing, if you wanted to put dunk on a build like this, you could get your dunk into the 80s and probably tinker with a few things and end up getting, you know, maybe the 87 dunk for the silver posterizer. You would need to also get the 75 vertical, but I was like, how can I make this a little different and utilize some of the new features that, you know, they put in 2K26? Because it seems like layups are going to be good. That's what it seems like. So I said, let me see, if I go no dunk, I can get 88 layup, which is gold float game in the tier 2 category. And just look at the floaters, man. You can stop on a dime at the free throw line and just go up with a floater instantly. That's going to be really, really difficult to defend. On top of it, that gold float game is in the tier 2 category, so we're going to use our Badge Max +2 in the tier 2 category to get legend float game. Yeah, legend float game with the Badge Max +2. So check this out. In the tier 1 category, Badge Max +2, I would say we're going to use that on Set Shot. Legend Set Shot, we would use our tier 2 Badge Max +2 on Float Game, as we just said, to get it on Legend. In the tier 1 category for Badge Max +1, we could go Deadeye to Hoff or Limitless Range to Hoff. And then in the tier 2 category, we could +1 our Layup Mixmaster and get that on gold. Now, depending on where you want to use your build specialization, if you decided to use it on playmaking, definitely use the +2 on Lightning Launch to Legend and use the +1 on Handles for Days to get it to Hoff. But if you had used it on the shooting category, then instead use your shooting build specialization Badge Max +2 on your Set Shot and your +1 on either your Limitless or your Deadeye, and then use the other regular Badge Max +1 and 2s on the playmaking badges. Either way you go, you end up with the same badge layout. It's just a decision you have to make about where you want to use your build specialization cap breakers, either in shooting or in playmaking. Also want to mention the recording cutoff here, but I'm only on 98 overall. I can get my free throw up into the 80s or even maybe low 90s. I can't remember exactly. The recording just cut off when I was at 98 overall. But let's move on to the medium wingspan 6'6 build. 6'6 height with a 6'9 wingspan. That's directly between minimum and maximum wingspan. 6'9 wingspan on a 6'6. That allows you to get an 89.3. Gold Set Shot, silver Limitless, other silver shooting badges. Y'all see it on the screen. We're going to go 90 ball handle again and get that gold Handles for Days. Now, you could lower your ball handle and still get most of the good signature dribble animations that 6'6 gets. But I just wanted to go a little bit higher to get that gold Handles for Days, because, you know, if you +1 or +2 that, it's really going to make a difference in terms of how long you can dribble and save you that stamina, especially for ISO players or players that just like to dance around a screen. It's going to be really, really valuable. Onto the defense. 85 perimeter, 85 steal, 68 block. Good, solid, well-rounded defense, and of course the extra 3 inches on your wingspan is going to help you play defense and be able to get more shot contests. We're going 87 on the driving dunk to get the silver posterizer, 75 vertical, which is also the other threshold you need for that silver posterizer. And then we're going to finish this thing off, 75 layup to get the bronze layup mixmaster, tinkering around with the attributes, the 40 standing dunk, because of course 6'6s can get standing dunks, right? You got to be 6'5 or taller this year to get them, and 6'6 is of course in that category. Tinkering around what I want to do with the free throw and the mid-range, and this is pretty much where I settled on this medium wingspan 6'6 build. Now again, it depends where you want to put your build specialization and where you want to use your Badge Max +1 and Badge Max +2s, but you can still get the Legend Set Shot with a Badge Max +2 to that gold Set Shot. You could use your +1 to get the gold posterizer if you would like to, or you could continue to use it on shooting badges like getting gold Deadeye or gold Limitless. A lot of options when it comes to the Badge Max +1s and 2s. It's just what your preference is. Let's move on to the 6'6 max wingspan. This one's interesting. Last but not least, the 6'6 build with a 7-foot max wingspan. Now, we're going to give it a little more driving now. We're going to give it 89 with the 78 vertical. That's still silver posterizer, but you get the pro contacts off of 1 foot. So, you know, a little, you know, unlock a couple more animations. We're going to give this thing more defense. My vision for this was more of like an ISO lockdown. You got those long arms. You're going to be getting better shot contests. So I went 74 block to get bronze paint patroller, still get the bronze high flying denier, but then we also went 85 perimeter like the other builds, but we're gonna ramp up that steal to 91 here in just a second, and that's gonna be gold glove, gold interceptor. Same playmaking, 90 ball handle, 86 speed with ball. Again, you could take that ball handle down if you don't want the gold Handles for Days, but I decided to keep it there. Depending on where you want to put your build specialization, again, it really, there are a lot of good options. You just have to make a decision about where you want to use those cap breakers and then adjust the build accordingly. Of course, because we have the 7-foot wingspan, it only allows us to get an 83 3-pointer as opposed to the other builds that had an 89 and 93 3-pointer. We got the 83 3-pointer, which is silver Set Shot and bronze Limitless. I would recommend using your Badge Max +2 to push that Set Shot up to Hall of Fame. And then what I'm thinking here is, okay, how can I get that 91 steal? You know, I'm moving attributes around to see, you know, what can I change that doesn't lose me a badge, but will give me, you know, will free up some attributes. So I dropped my pass act to 71. Of course, I lose the silver break starter, but that's not a huge deal because this isn't a 6/6 designed to rebound. I still keep the silver dimer. Then I realized my strength went up a little bit when I was tinkering with other attributes, so I can lower my strength down to a 50, and that's going to free up enough attributes for me to be able to put up that steel to 91, which of course is the gold interceptor like the other builds, but now it's gold glove, and just having the higher steel rating like Mike talked about in my interview with him, it's going to help you just get better reach animations. It's going to help you target the ball better when you do try to blitz somebody and all of that. But this is the max wingspan version of the 6/6. I feel like all these 6/6 builds are very, very well rounded, and it's just preference. If you want to be shooting threes from deep and, you know, doing floaters from the free throw line, the minimum wingspan version is a cool option. If you want to be kind of in between and still be able to get on the rim, the medium wingspan is a good option. And then if you want to be more of like an ISO lock with max wingspan and bronze paint patroller and all that, then you're going to want to go more like the max wingspan. But all these builds are just options, and they're just to kind of give you information. Always create the build that you want to create. But if you do want to check out a 6'11 Kevin Durant build with no weaknesses, click that video on the screen right there. That build is scary.